Sara and Margo, how are we doing today?
Well, firstly, thank you all for such a wonderful, warm welcome. I don't quite recall how many years ago was it we were here?
You and I were last here in 2001.
With Valerie and Jack? Was Margo here?
No, you came in 2000 with Mark McClure. Then the following year, Jeff East, Jack O'Halloran, Valerie Perrine, and you were here. And that's the last time I was here.
Well, having said that, it's an absolute pleasure to be back
Thank you.
to see everybody.
Boom.
I'm not booming with you.
Wow.
Don't you love an authentic accent, by the way, that's there? Hello, Sarah, welcome to... That's the right one.
Can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody talks like that in England.
Hey, nudge, wink, wink, train them on.
Tendon snapshots?
Can I just ask, are you two a double act or something?
Yes.
Yes. We're replacing Penn and Teller when they leave in Vegas.
They had other people, but they settled on us.
Yes.
So we can leave then.
No.
Jim told me don't bring up the accent because I can't do a proper English accent.
No, you can't.
I'm really good at the Australian.
Well, you might get a job on Mary Poppins.
Yeah. I got a pocket full of kryptonite, and she can say what it is.
Hey Tim, where are the images?
Margo Kidder.
Show them. They're going now. Well,
We'll describe what they look like.
Sara and Margo being here together is extra special this month and this year. Does anyone know why? We have a big anniversary this month, this year. Anybody know? What do you think Sara and Margo were doing together 40 years ago right now? 40 years ago, Sara had finished filming the villain trial scenes with Marlon Brando, Terrence Stamp, and Jack O'Halloran at Shepperton Studios in England for Superman. After she was done, she moved to the Fortress of Solitude set, also at Shepperton Studios, where she met Margo Kidder. Well, the first film...
We started at Shepperton.
Yeah, you started at Shepperton.
That's before you were there.
Your first day on the job was filming Superman 2 scenes in the Fortress with Sara with her hand around your neck. And right here, the following month, you were punching her. Look right there. Margo, look right there. You're punching her right there. That was 40 years ago this month. So that's a big deal. What do you say?
Yeah.
And they're just as lovely as ever, right? Come on! So yeah, see, Sarah's got her hand around Margo. I don't know how long you stood there, for hours.
What I do remember is I got into a little bit of trouble from Donna because we got the giggles, the two of us. And I remember he told me to just, stay in character. So of course, well, he didn't say it like that, but I can remember because we were there for ages with me throttling you gently.
When I came back between the Supermans, I was taking either Prozac or a tranquilizer, and I remember you said, "Well, you're really normal this time."
That sounds about right.
Is that where you two first met? Was on the Shepperton set?
I remember the day, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'd already started work, but I was certainly on the set when Margo arrived to do her, to do your screen test. And you were, I can remember I was fascinated with the fact that to my eyes, you were just a little bit bow-legged. And I thought...
That's from horse riding,
yeah,
right?
I know. And I thought, well, they've got themselves a real... You had your cowboy hat, you had your bow legs, and then you pulled it all off and became a bloody great, wonderful Lois Lane. I think it's safe to say that the image that Margo and I presented to the world off stage was about as far removed from our characters. Because as you know me very well, I mean, I'm very fidgety, I'm very clumsy, and Ursa was very still and all of that, and Madam here was just a cowgirl in my eyes, and she became a real lady.
Very fast. I became a lady.
Okay, that was an exaggeration. I'm being polite, Margo. All right. You were as Lois Lane. You put the skirt on, and you got your legs together. Well.
In this round,
At least I wasn't in super tight leather with my.
I'll have you know that I think more men phantom. Are there any? Well, yeah.
I haven't seen you children. Go for it.
Go ahead. No, really. We'll wait.
All I'm going to say about my costume was that when it came to the actual flying, they hadn't figured out that my costume, as we know, was slit right up the side, and it was slit here and slit there, and there was a lot of oh dear, because the initial flying harness was quite a big thing.
Right.
And of course I couldn't wear that, so I had to wear this little tiny little itsy bitsy girdly thing.
No underwear, please.
Oh, no underwear. Well, you know this story. You're just encouraging me to tell the story. So I'll just tell it again. The truth of it is, no, I was unable to wear any underwear, but on the set of when we were flying, when I was throwing the bus across the street in Superman 2, I was mighty cold because we were on the back lot of Pinewood, and it was freezing, and it was about 3 a.m. And I was so cold because I was wearing no clothes, basically, and all they could come up with was a mink-lined bra for me. It's true, you didn't know hottest tits in the business. Excuse me, parents with children. But really and truly, they gave me a mink-lined, so I had wonderful, more. Oh, I kept it. Oh, yes. It's going to be on eBay next week.
I have some damaging pictures of you I can put on eBay.
Believe me,
It's with
damaging
Chris and Donner and then Jody Fayette.
Oh, well, yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
That's
Yeah,
all she needs to say.
I have quite a few too. I haven't released yet.
Oh.
I have to say, this man is a marvel. I'm really such a joy and a delight for us because you were releasing photos certainly I've never seen. And I kind of dread what's going to come up next because we're getting to the ones now that I'm going, my goodness,
You're
how
going
did
to be nice.
No, I'm going to be nice.
Always.
But it's fascinating all these years later to be seeing, especially the behind-the-scenes shots. And
You look the same age.
yes, he looks exactly the you look
Oh, unfair.
Yeah, I know, it's very unfair.
Oh.
But if any of you, well, you could not have checked out Cape Wonder and the site, but it is a wonderful thing to be a part of your group and to see these pictures and to remember with such affection the good old days with dear Christopher and Margo and all of us, because they were heady days, weren't they, back in the 70s, my dear?
They were pretty weird.
They were pretty weird. You said it.
There was something they do if I had a hangover. Not that I did that much, but I would. What the old movie stars used to do. They put my hair in a ponytail and tighten to my face. And then you'd have a really lulu of a headache afterwards.
Well, they did that with my, because I had long hair, and of course was wearing a short cropped wig as Ursa, they did something where they got a contraption around the back of my head and they pulled the eyes up, they stuck something here a little bit to take everything got taped up. And the marvelous thing is, nobody ever said to me, get your hair cut. There was never a question of me having a short Ursa haircut.
Right.
And years later in Hollywood, people kept saying to me, why don't you look like you looked in Superman? So finally I weakened and went and got my hair cut, and I looked like a truck driver. It was so scary. People would cross over the street and they saw me.
Watching that process is scary because when I was 19, I was on a chat show with Gloria Swanson and Janis Joplin. And Gloria Swanson, beforehand, I walked past her big dressing room. there were several helpers pulling her entire face back, putting something else. I mean, and I remember standing there going, I am never going to be an old actress. Ever. That's awful. And here we are.
What about What about Janis Joplin? She didn't have anything cool. She just kind of...
She was a great... Well, actually, how many kids are there out there? None.
The parents are
I
covering
see
their
one.
ears.
I see one.
Here's what happened is, first Janice came out and sang and answered some questions, and then I came out, and then she came out. Now, Janice had done performed a procedure, no, not a procedure, a sexual act on Dick Cavett right before we came on, and that door was open to that dressing room too. That was the 60s. And so when Gloria Swanson came on and started, he first said, "What are you doing these days?" And she said, "I'm doing portraits." And he said, "Oh, you could do each." We went, "No, I could do your head." And Janice goes, and the mics were big things in those days, hung down, and she went, "Bet you would, baby." And then she just gave this running, filthy dialogue to the whole show, and they had to come and take her mic away.
If you play cards right, in a minute they'll be taking your mic away.
I think this is now the perfect time for Can You Read My Mind?
Hit it, John.
Can you read my mind, Margo? No.
Go ahead.
No.
Go.
I don't know the words.
You know the words.
No, I don't
Do you know what it is you do to them?
You won't be on the stage again. One more story like that, and I don't know the rest of it.
Oh, you don't know the rest of it. Who would like to ask a question today?
Please raise
Sara
your hand.
and Margo.
Oh, Miss Tattoo.
You. What was it like?
How about that Supergirl, ladies and gentlemen?
Yay!
I was wondering what it was like to work with Christopher Reeve.
Sarah?
For both of you to like work with him and
The
stuff.
first year was horrendous, frankly, because he'd never done a movie. I'd done 10, I think. Everyone else had done movies. But his insecurity manifested itself by him bossing everyone around and telling them how to make the movie. So then he cut takes with me because he needed to know everything was in the right place. I come in like a whirling dervish, things that we put him flying. So he cut the thing, and I go, "Don't you cut anything on me, Chris. Don't you tell me how to act, Christopher." I mean, we had a very, I guess I was Lucy and he was Charlie Brown. That was our real relationship, and it grew into something kind of fun. We played chess together, and he hated to lose, and he often did. He was kind of the first year before he got muscle up and famous. A little dirty. What should you say?
Well,
Skinny.
I've always...
Wore Oxfords with 6 inches between his ankle and the shoe.
I've always described him as being more like Clark Kent than Superman. You know, he was to me was a regular guy, kind of straight, kind of until he grew into Superman.
Yeah.
Not the most.
Then he stayed in character.
Then he stayed in character the entire time. But it was a long while that before we got there. I remember the very first day on the set with him was the day that Superman went to fly and he lifted his arms up, and of course
this is the best.
Yeah, I mean, Superman does not sweat, does not perspire. And of course, this was one of these tiny little details that they neglected to think about. So
It happened in every scene.
Of course it did.
And he was scared of the flying.
Yes,
So it happened when he flew. So there was one guy whose whole job was to run around with his battery and a hair dryer and blow dry his pits.
Blow dry his But he didn't have the guy that's job was to wipe my nose, did he? Bert the
What?
Snot. had a guy with a pole, a 40-foot pole with a tissue on the end, because when you're flying all day long.
What were you doing when you got home?
I wasn't doing anything, Margo, but if you're flying and you don't have anywhere to put your tissues and you're flying upside down and your nose is running over the fortress of solitude, which is what happens when you're like that all day long. They had a guy, on the set, the sets, so many people are working and everybody's got a name, so you've got, they put the name of your job with your own name, so Bill the Paint or Fred Props, and I had Bert the Snot. And his job was to come in with a pole with a tissue on the end, and he'd get underneath me and he'd do this, and I'd wipe my nose. And then the makeup lady had to come in with a pole with a little bit of a sponge with the makeup on the end, because of course I had to have thick white makeup because I have freckles, and surprisingly enough, supervillains don't have freckles. So they'd have to cover me with white makeup. So, there were always little things that used to happen just to hold things up. And as I said, there was nowhere for me to stick my tissue. Well, no.
I used to get books down my front when we were flying. We were hanging there.
Yeah, it was so boring, wasn't it? You had to find something to do. No.
Well, this is how I think some of you have heard the story.
We've all heard our stories, but they're just polite.
Here's how in character Chris did. When we're flying, we're strapped together 14 hours a day for months. And then Donner took away and we were barely speaking at times. We would make each other pissed off. So Donner took my contacts away, so I couldn't smart ass with the crew. So I was stuck with Chris, who's not a really exciting conversation. And so I learned a lot of American history through those Gore Vidal books. I took it down my front, and Chris would go, "Don't you stay in character?" I'd go, "Chris, I've been Lois Lane for a year, and all we do all week is look left. I can handle it."
Speaking of Donner, Richard Donner was honored at the Academy 2 nights ago for a Lifetime Achievement, and Margo, you were there?
I didn't get to go. I scratched my eyeball and got infected. If anyone has an eye patch, don't drive around because you have no depth perception and you have no idea of how I almost got killed several times. It was bad.
Is it better?
Just about. Yep.
All right. Well, Sara recently told a story about sitting in her chair, relaxing as Ursa during the trial filming, and Marlon Brando walking up or coming backstage after filming. And maybe you'd like to tell that story, because I hadn't heard it till recently.
Oh, I've got lots of stories for you, darling.
Please.
Okay, well, this was really because one of the exciting things that happened for me quite recently, and I was able to share, was that I found a page in my call sheet, which is the thing we get every day to tell us what time we have to be on set. And I found the day, and it was April something, 1977. And it was the first day of shooting with Marlon Brando. And so I was so excited to see this and to remember that, in fact, people are always saying, what was Brando like? And the truth of it was, he really was a superstar. There was something, he had such a charisma, didn't he?
Yeah, I met him before because my then husband, I had a few.
Yeah, I went through a few with you.
Yeah, you did, actually.
Yeah, I couldn't keep
God,
up with you.
stop crying.
That's all right. For God's sake, get another one. That's how long we were filming Superman.
We got to know each other well.
We did. Brando
decided to do Missouri Breaks was a movie my first husband wrote, and they cast Brando and Arthur Penn. So Brando had said a couple of years earlier he wouldn't do anything that didn't further Native American rights. So he was in a bit of a pickle. So he said he was going to play Robert E. Lee as what was his first one? Oh, as an Indian. Tom tried to point out that was an unlikely name for a Native American. So we were sent down to LA to meet him, and to talk him out of playing it as an Indian with his pet huskies playing wolves. And pet wolves, actually. So we go up to his house, and there's these wolves we heard about, and out came a 300-pound guy, grease all over his front, having a war with his Filipino houseboy about making him unlock the fridge, which he told him if he unlocked the fridge, he'd lose his job. And within minutes, you were just in love with him. Just in love with him.
I have to point at what you were just saying with your story is that you were, I mean, I was completely in awe. I was a 27-year-old English actress. Gene Hackman was like the guy next door, and I just loved him, and we all hung out and we did stuff together. But Marlon Brando was, to me, was a superstar. But this is a guy, and that story was, you know, we all have our chairs with our names on the back, and it's a standard procedure on the set that when you go off and film a little bit, shoot something, somebody hops into your chair and relaxes in it. Then the minute you come off the set, they'll jump out of your chair and dust it down, and you know, you sit on down. And I was able to observe Brando coming off the set towards us all, and he noticed that there was a man sitting in his seat. And the guy didn't see him notice, but I saw Brando see him and just take a little bend to the right so that he could just disappear off into the corner, and he got an old can, a tin can, a paint can, and turned it over, and he sat down in the corner quietly on this can so that the guy could remain in the seat and not be embarrassed. And that seems a very humble guy. He was lovely.
He was amazing. He was
And you know,
but he was not good to directors who were too nervous around him.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, I was nervous around him, and in fact, the first time he sat me, the only time he sat me on his lap,